Hi there.
Hi. We never met before. Are you new to this group?
Yeah, I joined some meetings back.
Okay.
I think third or fourth meeting now.
Okay, so I missed the last 3 or 4 meetings. Okay, that explains.
You with Dynatrace, right?
Yeah. So I've just seen you are with SAP.
Yeah.
Are you located in Germany?
Yeah, I'm in Germany.
And are you working with Dynatrace?
Personally not, but
Personally not. Yeah, you're a customer, a big customer.
I guess you're a big customer.
Yeah.
Hey, Andreas, Oliver, Matthias.
Hi, Katia. Hi.
Hey.
How is it going?
Good so far, thank you. How about you?
Also,
You are both from Germany, yeah?
no, I'm from Austria.
Austria. Okay, sorry.
There's a little difference.
But how is you don't have quarantine in Germany or Austria, yeah? Or?
In Germany, we have a lockdown light, they call it.
Okay. Heavier than Swedish one, probably.
And I think in Austria, it's even stricter than it is in Germany at the moment.
So we have a full lockdown.
Right.
So, but for us, it works perfectly out working in the home office. So.
Is that from your new house you're sitting in?
No. My new house is, yeah. I just started 6 weeks ago. So.
Oh, okay.
It's best time with lockdown, right, to start.
Yeah, it was a good time. Also, I really had luck with the weather.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think we can wait a few more minutes, and while we wait, you can perhaps add your names to the agenda or the meeting notes thingy. And we will probably have lower participation today because of the Thanksgiving holiday in North America or USA, I think. I know where else it's observed.
Hey, everybody. Hello, Tracy.
Tracy.
Oh.
So the agenda is light today, and I think we discussed this during talk meeting. Maybe today we can spend time on the white paper review because we have new case studies contributed as well as some updates to some of the chapters. I don't know if any of you had a chance to look at those updates. And I put some questions to the under the topic, the white paper topic. And if we have time left, we can recap the discussion we started a few weeks ago on standardized metadata. I don't see James Strachan here, but no matter what, we can see where we are with that. Okay, so, and if you have any other topic, you can add that, and we see how we do with the topics earlier than that. So before all the topics, as usual, we look at the action items. So the first 2 action items are on me, and the first action item was to ping VBAV to get Jenkins Tecton plugin contribution for white paper, and I know Viba contributed that case study, which we can come back to that one when we come to white paper topic. So I mark this as done. And the next action item is again on me to ping Cameron on Jenkins Pinnaker case study. I actually did that, and Cameron said he will check with his colleagues to see if they have anything to contribute there. And since today is holiday for him, he's not with us, but I will follow up with him offline probably Monday to see if they will make it on time, because we agreed to send the first draft to creative team next week. We can have some flexibility there if they intend to contribute. And the next action item is on you, Tracy, to arrange a working session for the white paper, which is this meeting perhaps. Yeah, so
Tick.
I tick that. And update the meeting time to 4 p.m. UTC, which you did that as well.
I did that.
Yeah, I got invitation. Ramin to bring example from manifest from eBay for metadata topic. I suggest we keep it open because I know Ramin started talking internally to get permission for that. So we keep it open and we ask him next time when we meet. And the last action item is on Trace Reagan and Steve Taylor to demo Ortelius. And same with them, they are probably taking time off today. So we keep that topic open and ping them before the next meeting so they can present Ortelius. And by the way, if any of you have missed it, Ortelius proposal is currently being voted by TOC. And once the vote passes, and if the vote passes, it will become the next project within CDF joining the others, which would be great. So those were the action items. Now going back to the white paper. So as I mentioned, me and some others made updates to a few chapters, which is perhaps good to go through those chapters live and see what updates were made there, and everyone can take time offline to review them and provide comments. So the first chapter that got updates is this, what are we discussing with continuous delivery? So this paragraph was already there. I added Martin Fowler's definition of CI there, because that is kind of what we agreed, take definitions from some other document, and this is perhaps the most famous definition of CI. So that's why I included it there. I don't know.
So one comment in general, and I'd just like to run this by the group and see what you think. To be kind of consistent across, like in particular, I'm thinking of the landscape. I'm keen to use the term continuous delivery as the umbrella for, CI and deployment, and not particularly in that paragraph. I don't think that one's a problem, but like later on we refer to tools and we sort of say, okay, these are all CI CD tools, but almost making the distinction between CI tools and pipeline orchestration tools, which is consistent with, I think, how they get labeled in the landscape. Does that make sense? Should I say more?
Makes sense, I think.
So one of the main things, if you look at the CDF landscape, like we have a pipeline orchestration category, continuous integration, configuration management. There's no category there that's actually called continuous delivery, because continuous delivery is, that pulling all those tools together to be able to release sort of safely and securely and regularly. So I'll go through and I'll just highlight the bits I think just need tweaking.
Yeah, that would be great, Tracy. any other comments in general or about this chapter? Because this chapter was the tricky one. Everybody, shared their view, and we just said, let's move that discussion to a new white paper and just be a bit lazy on this chapter and reuse what is already there. So, okay, moving on to the next chapter. So the next chapter is what does interoperability mean in continuous delivery context? And I read a few other articles from different industries, and the healthcare, as I mentioned during the last meeting, they have this nice article talking about integration versus interoperability, which is what I kind of got influenced by their definition. And I took some things from that article and added some of my views there, followed by some of the points raised by the people when it comes to what they think when they hear interoperability in CD context. So that is the list there, and ending up with the conclusion saying that interoperability in CD context is not very different from how interoperability is defined elsewhere. So it's about data and exchange of data and standard stuff. So please take a look at this and update.
So for this section, like if I was to summarize it, are we basically saying, this is what integration is, which is kind of being able to use tools together, and that's not what we're talking about. We're focused on interoperability, which is more specific, and then we give those examples, and then we're saying that's what we want to drive for, and especially tying in, I think, standardization.
Yeah,
is that a fair summary?
Yeah. I think the most important aspect of this, like why are we focusing interoperability, is to make users' lives easier. Because if you think integration, users may need to put custom fixes to get tools to talk each other if those tools are not built interoperability in mind. But if interoperability or some kind of standards were in place, users will have less trouble to bring different tool systems together.
Okay, and I guess the way I would think about that, like Jenkins is a tool which supports a lot of integration, which is fine. You can integrate a lot of things, but that's different from saying, let's have interoperability across lots of different tools. Let's have standardized APIs and metadata, so you can sort of move pipelines around or move workloads around.
Yeah. I think what James talked about with the standardized metadata a few weeks ago is like one of the key aspects of interoperability.
Yep.
Okay. So the
and
benefits,
then I added that in. I thought we should hammer home a bit of a why, what's the point, and who cares? Like, why does this matter? So I took a stab at just putting a few bullet points, but I can flesh those out and maybe tie to the end user case studies a little.
Yeah. Okay, so this chapter seems to be, good enough to, for everyone to review. And the next chapter is key considerations, constraints, and concerns. So I added some considerations, constraints, and concerns there, like lack of shared vocabulary is the first thing we did within the SIG. So I simply took the paragraph from the Rosetta Stone document and put it there, followed by the complex end-to-end CI/CD pipelines. Like organizations start with simple CI perhaps, later on they extend that to CD, and over time things become complex and they need to look at things in an end-to-end way. So that is a concern, like how to have with those things, because different tools and technologies take part in that type of setup. And the next consideration is being agnostic to the technology and processes. I don't know how much it makes sense. Loose coupling, scalability, flexibility, and some more. I was out of energy to write more when I reached to that. And somehow we need to, tie these considerations, concerns to interoperability. Again, please go in and update. You can even delete some of those things if you don't think they make sense in the context of this white paper. which takes us to trends, reusable libraries. Again, this is something we discussed early, like before summer, and I just added some tools there, and the need to have a home for those libraries, which may be developed by individuals or group of people, and CDF providing home to Tecton hand chart is an example I put there. Standardized metadata is the new topic we start talking about, and I put a simple pipeline there: commit, build, packaging, test, promotion, deployment, to highlight the fact that we produce lots of data when we go through the pipeline, and this data is produced differently and consumed differently, and the necessity to have a standardized approach to metadata or trend in a way. The events in CI/CD has been there like since 2 months. I think the work stream contributed that for a while ago, so we can move. And the APIs and secrets, we added those during the last meeting, and we have Tracy and James Rawlings as the names for those. So this is one of the questions.
I'd missed that before, so I thought I was all done on my tasks. Damn. no worries. Well, maybe I can have a little pop at that, and maybe with Cara as well, because I know Cara's been doing some stuff around this as well. So
yep,
awesome.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, for APIs, I was gonna look at Cara's article. She'd written about Kubernetes in its approach to APIs and why that made a big difference. And yeah.
Okay. So case studies. So Tecton client plugin for Jenkins from Vibhav. Vibhav, you want to summarize what you contributed?
It's a problem of calling in. So he asked to get the raw pin code in the chat.
Oh.
Hello, you guys can hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So hi guys, I'm Vibhav. I guess this is my first introduction here. So I work at Red Hat, and basically I'll just quickly go through this case study. So this is basically the Tecton client plugin for Jenkins, and it's supposed to kind of bridge the gap between Jenkins and Tecton in terms of how Jenkins users can get to know Tecton easily and start using Tecton without having being YAML engineers or anything. So I'll just share my screen to give like an overview of where we are right now and what's there for the future. So here we go.
Let me stop.
Okay.
Stop share. Yes.
Okay, so let me start sharing my screen. Okay. Okay. Okay, so so basically for this we need to know what Jenkins is and what Tecton is. So I take it that people already know this. So we'll just move forward to what the solution is for interoperability between Jenkins and Tecton. So for as per the current scope of this, we are currently at V1 Alpha 2, and this is the repo here. You can go here, check it out. And the first time this was introduced was during CDCon. The whole idea behind this was to just have Jenkins users get started with Tecton without having to play with YAMLs, and just basically know what they know about like do what they do in Jenkins, but instead of doing it in Jenkins, they are doing it in Tecton. So basically, they just use their Jenkins philosophies of build steps, and then they get started with Tecton. They create task runs, pipeline runs. So that's the idea that we are going here with. So currently, now we'll discuss like what is the current scope and where we are right now and what is there for the future. So currently, we are supporting these build steps: create resource, create task run, and delete resource. And create resource and delete resource here are raw, which means that you will be able to give a URL or YAML and then create the resources in a through them. And this is done through build steps. So build steps are very common. Is a very common way in which Jenkins users usually do things, and it gets things done. It is different from pipeline, which requires users to know a little more about Jenkins and Jenkins file is a part of that. So this is something that is not supported yet. So, but currently this is what the next we have. So next, I'll just elaborate on what these are exactly. So the raw steps that are there right now, which are Tecton create raw, create resource raw, and Tecton create delete resource raw. These ones will allow you to use URL or YAML to create resources, and you can input your URL where your resource lies, and then your YAML, whatever it is, you can just give it, and then the plugin will figure out, okay, this is a task run, and then apply it to your namespace. And then you've got delete resource, where you can tell which resource you want to delete and delete it accordingly, like this example here. And moving on next. So the main idea with this plugin is that the user should be able to interact with Tecton. The Jenkins user should be able to interact with Tecton without knowing much of Tecton. So it should be more of a fill in the blanks kind of scenario. So in this case, you can see the Tecton create task, where the user can just give the name, namespace, and the entire spec. So if you know your Tecton, you can tell that this is not completely finished. There is a lot more to do, even in the task and task runs. And it is on the roadmap. But basically, you should be able to create tasks or task runs or any Tecton resource in a very interactive way without having to like figure out the API. You should just be able to click button. Okay, I want to add this. Okay, can I add this also? Oh, that's cool. So the Jenkins user just kind of blazes through all this Tecton stuff without having to refer to much of documentation, because all of the help will be given on the plugin itself. So task run is similar, and in the future there will be autofilling of these task references or pipeline references for pipeline runs and stuff. So in this case, it provides like the Jenkins users complete control of what they are doing, and they wouldn't have to go to the terminal, select, figure out what task they want to, what task is there, and then copy paste the name, because at times some tasks are created with generate names, so you can't always know the name of certain resources and stuff. So this will just make it easier for the Jenkins users to do things. So what's remaining in the current scope? In the current scope, as you saw, there's very limited support that is there for creating things, and what's remaining is complete support for interactive creation of all the resources, including event listener, templates, and everything in between to pipeline runs and all. Then what is most ambitious about this project is that it should give Tecton Hub or catalog support and YAML hydration into the build step, so that you should just give an YAML, like a task YAML, and then it will just basically fill out the entire task with whatever's there in the YAML, and then you can go ahead, edit it, and just basically get down to the using the task directly. And the Tecton catalog support is basically basically the Tecton hub is a place where there are tasks and tasks which can be used and reused. With the hub support, you should be able to use tasks, and just the user would have to provide what parameters they want for each task for their task runs, and then execute those task runs. So next, as I had said, the next thing that would be coming up is resource discovery and autofill support. So if I have a reference to a task or a pipeline, I should be able to give it in my pipeline run or task run in the UI itself. So this will make it easy for the users to kind of, not have to search for the task or the pipeline and just get started with their Jenkins jobs. And you can check out the rest of the roadmap here. It's not a lot, but it will definitely help Jenkins users get to know Tecton. And the timeline for this is by the end of Q1 2021 for delivery. And this will include obviously good coverage, support, and testing. So this is the current scope that we are working on right now. The next thing, what's for the future is the cloud event support, which is not thoroughly discussed yet, but this was just an idea that was discussed in the cloud native SIG for Jenkins. So we really don't know how this one will go about, but considering that CI/CD systems can be considered as like seas, and the water that goes in between could be cloud events to trigger or to reach each of those pools of water and get stuff moving. So cloud events, as we know, they are important in this landscape, and support for this would be good. But there is still stuff that needs to be planned in this case, and uh, this is basically it. So thank you. And any questions? Stop sharing my screen.
Thanks, Vibhav.
Thank you, Vibhav. That was an excellent presentation. It was interesting to me that one of the things you highlighted that this project would do would be to help Jenkins users become more familiar with Tecton. Would you say that that is one of the main goals of this project?
Yeah, so the reason I even started this project was because like Jenkins users don't know Tecton, and the way they would usually go about using Tecton, at first they would write the TKN task start get, like they would use the TKN command line inside the Jenkins file, which is a very crude way of interoperability. So this was supposed to allow them to get used to Tecton, easily learn Tecton through the help mechanisms and all that is provided in the Jenkins jellies and everything. So yes, I would say this is one of the main goals of the plugin.
Okay, any other questions? And I suppose your contribution, Vibhav, summarizes the work you described as well, which is great.
Okay, yeah. Thanks, Fatih.
Thanks, Vibhav. Let me share my screen. So the next case study was contributed by Kara and James on Jenkins X and Tecton. If you want to say a few words, Kara or James?
I'll let James. He's really contributed it.
No worries. Yeah, so finally got to it. Sorry for the delays, Fatty. I know, very persistent. Thank you very much for bearing with me, for bearing with us. Yeah, it's just trying to keep it a bit high level. Anyone can have a read of it after this. But we just wanted to try and not do too technical, keep it high level. Some of the advantages of Tecton and why Jenkins X uses it. And kind of the deep interoperability we have with that, sharing the data between and the visualizations as well. So yeah, feedback welcome. If there's anything that anyone wants to change, we can do. It's also taken a bit of a snippet out of a blog that James did. Kind of talks about the structure and shows that we've got native Tecton resources actually embedded in the Git repos. So it's just hopefully going to spark some interest and people understand a little bit more, they can relate to it.
Thanks, James. You got your first comment, by the way, from Tracy.
There we are. Oh, there we go. Anyone but Tracy. No, that's fine. That's great. That's cool. We'll look at that. We can move that, of course. Sounds good.
Thanks again. Any questions to James about his contribution? Okay, so Captain has been there for a while. Thanks, Andreas, and your colleagues for contributing it. As usual, if anyone has comments, it is time to do. We have 1 week to, review this.
Feedback is welcome, of course.
Okay. And the next case study is the new one of the new ones, Zool, and Jeremy from Open Infrastructure Foundation contribute this, and it looks similar to a Captain case study, because Zool case study talks about how Zool is helping the companies to achieve interoperability, especially in between SCM systems. I think GitHub and Gerrit were the two of them. And originally we discussed this contribution as Volvo Cars contribution, but when I had a chat with James, Jeremy, he mentioned he found some other case studies from Zool users. One of them is Lebon Coin, online e-commerce marketplace, and Volvo Cars case study follows that one, and followed by Zool itself. So as usual, please review this, and we can get in touch with Jeremy if we have any comments, either during next week or earlier than that. And he put some numbers here as well, as we discussed during the previous meeting. So one thing I had a chat with Jeremy was on, maybe this looks like 3 case studies, because it talks about Lebon Coin, Volvo Cars, and Zool itself. But again, I'm sure when you will read the contribution, you will see that, and you can put comments directly on the document.
So just a general comment. How do I say this? Like, to me, it's not necessarily clear. Like, I think we need to be better on the narrative here, because it's like what is the message from each case study? And I wonder if the way to achieve that is tying some of these case studies in under the trends. So we talk about a trend, and then here's the example. But a lot of the case studies seem to be kind of a mix of, here's some technology, or here's some people using it. But it doesn't, we don't necessarily emphasize what the point is. So if I had to be a bit more critical. So if we took, let's say, the Captain case study, and it's in the section where we're talking about cloud events, and we're saying, okay, here's how cloud events are making a difference, and then a specific example is kept and this company Amazon, and then we should do that for all of them to make sure that it fits in, because like, if I'm honest, if we were talking about integration versus interoperability, just saying, okay, you can use every kind of source control management, it might be nice to say, okay, that's the level we're at today. But I think that's distinct from what we're trying to push forward as interoperability, which would be like a standardized way to talk to each source control management system.
I wonder if there's a way,
Yeah.
I kind of agree actually, but I wonder if there's a way to try and, the theme you mentioned, I wonder if there's a way to kind of have it relate to some kind of capabilities from the from Accelerate or the State of DevOps that we kind of mentioned before, that we want to be kind of, acknowledging the work that's been done there around Accelerate and the efforts that they've identified. But I wonder if we could show some kind of interoperability that's there, that kind of also then helps with that as the trend. Would that work, or is that too much work, or does that make sense?
So I could see that for, like, when we talk about loose coupling, we have that section on loose coupling, and I think that ties in with Accelerate. So then maybe pulling in some examples of saying, okay, these tools work in that way and they're loosely coupled, so it's a good way to approach it. Other than loose coupled, I have to give it some more thought.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments about case studies in general? Because this was the last case study. Okay, so I put a few questions to the agenda. So, one of the objectives with this white paper is to address different audiences. So we have an introduction section in the paper. I don't know if we should convert it to executive summary or have an executive summary separately. So like decision makers can just read one paragraph or something and see, oh, this is an important thing. We should really get engaged and contribute and collaborate and invest in this. But I'm not good at those things. So just putting the question out there and shutting up.
Yeah, I think that could work. I threw in a conclusion as well just before the meeting. And for me, I think that would kind of tie into an executive summary, which is basically saying this whole landscape is ripe for driving interoperability, and then this is the group doing it, and you should just get involved. And here's how.
Okay, so maybe we can take this paragraph and just modify it a bit and put it as like at the beginning and reiterate message in the conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the executive summary, I'd do a bit more of reiterating the benefits and then the trends. So here's the benefits, these are the trends, and this is how we're going to make it happen faster.
Okay, so my question answered. So the other thing I put here, because we talk about lots of things in the paper, like the tools, technologies, like some definitions, I personally took some of the definitions from somewhere else. So collecting a references chapter, putting a references chapter for further reading, for example, at the same time giving credit to others who came up with those stuff, to be like, to credit people properly, and also give people to browse things around when they read the paper. Oh, Tecton, let's click this link. Oh, Captain, go there and check. So that is, maybe I should directly add a chapter there, references and further reading.
So that will be a section on further reading or suggested resources, but are we going to actually link them to the quotes, if there are quotes in the text? Like, are we like footnotes?
Yeah, good question.
I had a question. So when we say audiences, what are the different kind of audiences we are talking about here? Like in my mind, the first audience that comes is someone who's on a legacy system, needs to get on with a new system. Then there is someone who is starting off, can do experimental. They would like to use different kind of CI/CDs. Are there any numbers around like how what is the distribution between these audiences, and what kind of interoperability is more needed than the other? Maybe something to think about.
When I think about audiences, one of them is like the decision makers or the people with the money, who can say, let's go and work in this thing. So that is one of the audiences. And the other audience is like developers, because developers take part in communities and come and contribute. So like that was what was in my mind when I asked the question audience, like how to address different people. Because like if you are on C-level executive and if you get this paper, you will not have time to read 15 pages, You'll browse through and you'll look at few chapters, paragraphs, hopefully. And that is our chance to, get the message across so they can see, oh, this is something that is critical for us.
Can we go back to the reference question Cara asked?
Okay.
What are we thinking on how to approach that?
So the only one who put references is Zul case study. So
Would we move those to the further reading section, or just leave those there and have them at the bottom of the page footnoted? I don't know if anyone's got experience with.
I had some links, but I removed them because I figured I didn't know how it was going to be distributed. So if it's like I don't know, would be people.
Yeah, maybe add the links in, and I'll check with the folks who will put it together and see if they have recommendations.
Yeah, we can use this academic type of cross-referencing, like numbers, like number 1, the reference is down, and number 2, that type of stuff, something like that. And also, Tracy, if you have other material you want to link, like under further reading, it doesn't have to be reference like linked in the paper, but just read this, accelerate stuff and that type of things,
Okay, yeah, that would work well. Cool.
Are we only linking to projects, or do we want company links there also? I don't know what's the praxis.
Yeah, I think we're more linking to further reading around the concepts or the broader story, not so much companies.
Thanks.
So this contributors. So I went through the history of this document and looked at comments and so on, and I listed people who contributed different ways. So if I miss your name, apologies, please add your name there directly. It wasn't intentional. So just add your name, because this will be part of the white paper when it gets released. And this question is already answered. Like I was looking at new chapters, APIs and secrets before the meeting, and they were empty. So now we have Tracy and James aware of the action points they have. So we can part that, and future and conclusion. So yeah, conclusion is there, and future is empty.
I think, like for future, you had a good section in your article on interoperability, the Ericsson one. So I would suggest we take from some of that. I think it talks about openness and transparency and people working together. So I would,
okay,
if you're happy for us to use that.
Yeah, I'm fine. If you think it is good to talk about. Okay. And that was all for the white paper. So any further comments, questions, thoughts? So will we be able to make it next week? You know, we said we should send this to creative team end of November, which is next week. So we have a few chapters and this reading, further reading and references thing. I think we can fix those, but the biggest thing I see here, what you, Tracy, mentioned, like tying case studies to trends and other things. So that is a bit, you know, larger work of, body of work.
Yeah, Fatih, if you want to sync on that, I've got some thoughts of how to. So, well, I could take a pass at it and send that around and see what folks think.
Yeah. Or maybe we can directly bring the creative team to this as well. So they and us do the work in parallel. They can give a first read to see, okay, this looks great, or this misses this thing. And at the same time, we adjust the structure.
Mm-hmm.
And it is like 15 pages. I don't know, like the white papers generally are less than 10 pages, the ones I've seen. So this is like pretty extensive, to be honest. We put a lot of effort into this. So my worry is like, will people read this? Or is there any place we can?
I mean, a lot of it is the use cases. So I don't know, maybe when they do it, they can, oops, sorry. Yeah, these. So I wonder if that's kind of more of the main content of the document is probably it's a lot less. I don't know what is it before the use cases start. People then have like the use cases people would skip to. They'd be listed at the start of the content or something.
A question for you, James. For the Jenkins X case study, you had that block diagram when you announced Jenkins X Alpha. Is that something we can use? I think we could kind of make it fit if we maybe tie this section more to abstractions and APIs.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Yeah, we can. I'll pop it in and then see what you think.
Okay.
I'll do that now. This is the one where it's to do with the abstraction layers.
You've got the sort of abstraction, CI/CD service, developer experience.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I'll have that in.
So that reminded me that we don't have any logo or diagram or any. It's like pure text.
Yeah, I'm adding pictures in now.
Okay. So
I think definitely project logos. We should go sprinkle those in. I think the creative team can add in icons for various things as well. Like when you talk to benefits or we're talking about trends, it can have little things that make it a bit more visual.
Okay, so then we continue working with this, and Tracy, I hope you can help with the creative folks. Now, if they can point this, you can point this to them, or like if I don't know who to talk to, I don't know who are those folks. So if you can help with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have 13 minutes left, and I'm wondering if we should, talk about standardized metadata now to at least see where we are, and we convene on the topic 2 weeks later when we have folks from US back, because we changed the time, start time of the meeting as well. What folks think about this standardized metadata?
I think that would be a good area for us to discuss now.
Okay. So this is where we left. We discussed to start a document, and we had Tracy, Steve, and James volunteered for the work. And as you see, it's empty at the moment, and few of the existing efforts listed here. And that's where we are.
Tracy, because she's first on the list, so I thought Tracy would start. But yeah, we should do some
I was waiting for Ramin to give us eBay metadata and we just run from there. No, it's good.
James, you were saying something, or James Strachan, or
I can fill in the Jenkins X metadata that we capture.
Okay.
I'll do that this week.
okay, let me get Jenkins. Okay, and also like I want to pull in Andreas, Emil, Matthias, because some of the things you are talking in events workstream are related to metadata as well. Maybe you could, share your thoughts on the documents as as an existing effort, because you have been talking about events for last couple of months, and so we bring your thoughts to this work as well.
We will do, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, then I will ping Ramin again, and hopefully we will have some examples by next meeting, like Jenkins X metadata would be the example. Would be great to have, so we don't start from scratch. And also, if we get some input from events workstream, that would be good thing. So we see different perspectives for this topic, and then we see where we are after that meeting. So then, should we end the meeting and give everyone 10 minutes back?
Yeah, nothing else for me.
Sounds great.
Thanks a lot, everyone, especially with the white paper. I think this was huge amount of work, and there is lots of valuable thing here. I think this will be a good closure to 2020, no matter how bad the year was. So, and then we can read this during our Christmas break while we think what will happen in 2021.
So what you're saying is we're rescuing 2020 by the white paper. Love it.
There is some bright spot in 2020. The name is like white, not all dark.
If anyone was missing Christmas gifts, you're all sorted now.
And I'll get my dad. Yeah.
But
Fancy present for your family.
Yeah. Brilliant.
yeah. Okay. Thank you all, and have a nice day, evening, and weekend. And talk to you in 2 weeks, perhaps the last meeting for the year, because then we will go to Christmas break. But we talk about that during next meeting, about what to do with the remaining meetings. But again, thank you all, and talk to you in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.